at the hour-long. And let me just get all the recordings started here. Let's see. I think the live. Okay, we're just going to do the live later because it's not working, and that's okay. So that's wonderful. And again, so grateful to have you guys. So grateful to be sharing this space with you. And I'll just describe a little bit about what we're doing today, where I'm coming from, who I am, all of this stuff. So my name is Leah, Precious Thunder Warrior. And I've been doing this work for, as I said, however many years. My background is that I was initiated in the Mayan tradition. So I learned a lot of curanderismo, a lot of kind of indigenous healing practice. And that's where I got my medicine name, Leah Precious Thunder Warrior. My background, however, is pulling ancestry from Western Europe, Northern Europe, Eastern Europe, as well as the work of kind of the Babylonians, the Iraqis. I'm from this town that's kind of, or my family is from this town that's a little bit Syrian, a little bit Iraqi. And so kind of pulling from both of these, like the Canaanite energy, the Babylonian energy, things like that. And so because of that, I'm also fasting during Ramadan and working a lot with one of my favorite things is this trance work, which is why I created this monthly series. And I think it's really nice to do in the beginning of the month to really receive downloads, receive messages, receive understandings of where we are and kind of where we would like to be. So what is trance and what do I do with trance? Some of you are returning folks, so I won't give you the entire rundown. But more or less, trance is, going into a really calm and composed state and basically going into a place of no mind. And once you're there, finding a connection to the divine. And through that connection of the divine, receiving visions, receiving knowledge, receiving wisdom that was meant just for you. Now, you might say, how can you be someone who's into Sufism and Muslim stuff and also pagan, so to speak, Babylonian? Well, for me, it all makes sense. And if you're curious about hearing about the work I do, kind of the Babylonian energy that I've decided, I guess, has been one of my projects to pull in. When I was initiated, my patron deity here, who is Ninurta, basically the Hercules of Babylon, I had a very strong vision that literally as I was doing the initiation, he came to me. And, my name is Precious Thunder Warrior and he's the god of thunder. So it was just how it was meant to be. And he's a warrior god, he's Hercules. So it all kind of made sense in the moment. And because of that, I know that that's like where my root is, where my heart is. But I honor the fact that there's so many people who practice kind of more of a Abrahamic way of looking at things. And, we're in this moment where it's about to be Easter. So, happy Easter to folks who might be celebrating. And, we're really in this kind of interesting time in which we're really thinking in a lot of different ways, how the old ways, the old Babylonian ways, the old Canaanite ways, let's say, the old, Semitic Syrian ways, really, the old Bedouin ways became a part of like the traditions that we have right now. The Easter celebration, the Ramadan celebration. I mean, people who do Ramadan, they're walking around a meteorite. And it used to be a pagan god that lived in that meteorite. And then we said Allah lived in that meteorite. So a lot of kind of exploring the different ways that we can talk about the old ways and kind of the new ways, but doing it specifically with techniques, I think, that matter. And so many trance techniques kind kind of have developed across different cultures in my sort of Scandinavian heritage, pulling from the Norse vulva. That kind of Norse tradition is one in which if you were a seer, you would literally, I've said this before, but I love it. It's like you'd have your seeing uniform, you'd have your robe, you'd have your staff, and you'd have your chair. And you would always go to your seeing chair with your seeing robe and your seeing staff. And you'd sit down and you would receive. And Sufism is very similar in that you quiet everything until you can receive. It's really the idea of trance, and the work of trance is the quietude of the within, so that there's no busy mind, there's no sense of needing to do this, needing to do that, the to-do list, the other people that we interact with the day. You really go deep just into that spirit mind. And so some have even said that spinning, Rumi, of course, was the first person who did the spinning. If you know anything about dervishes, dervish being another term for Sufism, dervishes and Sufis are mystical Muslims. So they believe in the Quran in a way, but they don't necessarily ascribe to the dogma of it. And so instead what they believe is kind of these more mystical ideas of, well, God doesn't have to be defined the way I'm told. God can be, agendered. God can be you. God can be all of us. And so I really pull from that kind of understanding. Now, the reason I'm speaking of Sufism is because specifically today, because it's Ramadan, you, if you're new or if you're returning, are very lucky to be in, or I'm grateful to have you, but I'm very lucky to be sharing what I consider kind of a Ramadan download. So that's where, if you are, yes, I just heard see a message. Yeah, working with psychiatric patients. And when they hear voices, those were the seers. I know. It's, seeing in a way. Some people, they can't turn it off, right? And some people have trouble opening up. But that's actually part of what we're doing today too, it's like allowing for what we hear and what we see to come through, and to not fight it. And it's interesting because some people have an illness where they can't stop it at any given time, and that's difficult in its own way. And it's, it has its struggle, but it's true that there's a place of honor for that as well, and honoring that experience. So I completely, like, that's kind of what this trance is about, right? Is, can we calm everything so that we only hear the voices? So I appreciate the share. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's amazing. And that's really what this is about. But so we're doing it today from this kind of perspective of, we're in the second week of this Ramadan group of gatherings that I've prepared for us all. The last week was specifically Ramadan specific. And this week we're going to be doing our monthly trance. Tomorrow we're meeting for the full moon. Next week we're doing another Ramadan specific thing. And then the week after that is our alchemy class. And then after that it's Eid, and I'll be celebrating, and I haven't decided what we'll be doing in May, because it's an eclipse time, which is also amazing, that the end of Ramadan is literally the eclipse period for 2022. So talk about massive transformation. So I feel like I have to speak, but I'll also be celebrating. So we'll figure that out. But anyway, we're in the middle of this. Alaikum assalam, welcome. We're in the middle of Ramadan right now, and we're kind of thinking about it in sort of the multiple ways that I like to think about it. And trance is one of them. Meditation is one of them. I believe it's called muraqaba, but I just want to make sure. Yeah, muraqaba is meditation in Sufism. And so we're not going to get into kind of the nitty gritty, but basically, when you're meditating as a mystic, right? Let's say we're all mystics today, we're all trance, maybe practitioners today. When you're working with that mystic trance energy, you are going through different stages to reach kind of the final goal, which is the no mind, no self, only being with the divine. And, you know, Zen meditation is very much like this too. And so that's why today's specific subject is Fanaa. Fanaa being very similar to moksha or nirvana in Buddhism and Hinduism, in that it's the idea of reaching the enlightenment. However, Fanaa is considered a very specific context of being annihilated. And this is not in a violent way, but it's in a way of all self disappearing. And so it's less about going, you know, being relieved of the karmic wheel, and it's less about kind of these other ideas, but it's really that all self just will disappear. And, you know, the part of it is working on in kind of constant contemplation on the attributes of the divine, and doing so in a way where you purify yourself so that when you are annihilated, there's nothing. But actually, what's kind of interesting about Fanaa too is that it's actually the second to last final stage, which is, I think, also what makes it a little different from thinking about nirvana and moksha, which is that you reach Fanaa and you reach kind of the end of your personhood. And then what instead is supposed to happen is that you regain your consciousness and an attainment of the sublime, which is the baqa, which is subsistence, and which is direct vision of the divine. So that's also kind of what we're doing today, is working into the removal of the annihilation, the full passing and ending of, you know, our minds, our busy minds today, and instead really working into kind of a divine space. And I've said this before, I'll say this a million times. I'm not here to preach to you, I'm more here to teach you. So if you feel like this resonates with you, you're welcome to use this practice. But if it doesn't, that's okay. And you don't have to do it again. You know, you don't have to repeat this work. You don't have to do Sufi work. You know, it's just a matter of being respectful, which is why we have to sometimes remove folks in the beginning of a session. And I, again, do apologize for that, because some of that stuff was nasty, so that's wrong. But you're all very deserving of, you know, the divine and connection. And so I'm just going to ignore that. So that's really what we're here to do today, is work with Fanaa, work with, it can be annihilation, it can also be extinction. It's really, it's like the denunciation of human attributes that becomes liberation, that becomes ultimate acceptance of the divine truth. And I don't think there are any folks who are here from last Ramadan classes that we did, so I'm okay to repeat this, which is that one of the main other attributes of Sufism is that all spiritual wisdom is about learning the divine secret, which is kind of like the ancient Greeks believed, that, you know, or philosophers believed that we already have all knowledge that we desire, that we were meant to have. We already are in possession of it. And really what we are, the only reason we can't basically have it and hold it every day is because we're constantly kind of barraged by a series of veils, kind of unseen veils that keep us from accessing that secret. So no matter what we're doing, you know, we know, it's like when something bad happens, we know what the right thing to do was sometimes. Sometimes we don't, but sometimes you hear, oh, I shouldn't have done that. You know what I mean? Or oh, I get a bad feeling about this person, something like that, right? We kind of have like our third eye, our soul star, our higher self wisdom always speaking to us, and telling us what the real truth is. And so in Sufism, the idea is that this is about re-understanding and uncovering the truth that we already know. And so when you go through the steps of this kind of trance work specifically, you start kind of just trying to clear your mind. But eventually there is the stage, as we're saying, which is like that moment where you're just receiving the visions. You're just, I've had feedback in the past that it's difficult for some to receive the vision, and that's okay. But the thing is that these visions are meant to come. Some Sufis call them like the arcane knowledge, the intuition and arcane intuition. And this sort of ancient knowledge that we remember, when it's time for it to come, when we're open for it, it will come, as we were just discussing, with folks who might be ill, at times with kind of these other illnesses with schizophrenia and things like that. It comes without our bidding, and it actually comes without our control. And so if you feel like you're struggling, you're actually trying to exert too much control. And so I welcome you to let go, because that's where you're getting stuck. In fact, is you're saying, I want to see something. So then that's the only thing that's in your mind. But what you really need is to be quiet so that you can listen. And then when you listen, that's when you hear. So that is kind of where we're going. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. It's all about the listening and all about the hearing. And some people can't turn it off, but some people are off. And so it's kind of like, how can we find the balance in a way, So absolutely. Yeah. And thank you. Much appreciation. So awesome. So I think with that in mind, we have a good sense. I'm trying to think what else is there. So as we're clear, this is the sort of last idea, I guess, which is as we're clearing these veils, right? And we come into kind of the truth of existence. Many Sufis have explained that what we reach is kind of a mirror in which all of truth is reflected in its splendor. And so that's, I think, where we're kind of going to reach today. We're going to reach for it. And if you can't get there, that's okay. What I just invite you to do is, I always give us quiet time in these a little bit after I kind of talk us through the introduction, to just sit in it and to see what comes up. And I think that's really all that we need. So I think I need to check the time, but I believe sunset for me. Okay, I have a few minutes. So does anyone have any questions before we get started? And if my production director is out there, do you mind please turning on the music? Okay, I can also turn on the music instead. Okay. So everyone, let's get ready to kind of go into a place of prayer, it's not really prayer, but openness, receiving, gratitude for the great universe that is. Taking a moment now to just be in this space where you are, sitting down comfortably, laying down. And we'll move now into a little bit of breath work. Noticing our breath. And now when I count, I will say 9 and invite you to breathe in. And when I say 9, you can breathe out again. Breathing in 9. Breathing out 9. Breathing in 9. Breathing out 9. Breathing in 9. Breathing out 9. Nine. And 9. One last breath. We're going to do this all together. Breathing in deeply from the tips of our toes up until above our forehead, really filling in the stomach. And then we're going to let it all out. Breathing in now 9. And releasing 9. It's sunset for me, so I'm going to say a prayer and I will have a little snack. But then you're welcome to eat as well if you'd like. I'm just going to have one date, but I'll pray first. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Malik Yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. Bismillah. And let's relax into this space. Let the energy in the body relax. I will eat later. I'm good. Let's be for now here with our body. Releasing the tiredness, the difficult emotions, releasing sadness. Releasing the energy of all others, and doing all of this with little to no effort on your behalf. And now, as we are moving with this release, we are also turning closer to ourselves and focusing in on the self. Seeing the self, appreciating the self, kind of refilling the gaps in what we have just released. We come into a larger awareness of the room that we're in, the chair beneath us, the quality of the air. As we are moving towards self, to the knowledge of self, the understanding of self. Becoming aware without judgments. If there are any feelings towards self, it is only forgiveness in this moment. As we are letting conscious mind relax. Relaxing into a forgiveness. Forgiven self. As there is the great Rahman Rahim, the merciful, the forgiving. So do we ready ourselves to be in connection to this being through choosing now the act of forgiveness as well. Consciousness relaxes and relaxes. If there's any fear here, simply allow yourself the knowledge that you are enough. And your consciousness is slowly transitioning now into subconscious awareness of dreaming mind and subconscious mind. Allowing your awareness to open and open, moving deeper and deeper. Knowing you are protected, knowing you are safe to see, knowing you are safe to dream. This deepness of experience moving us into an absorption of all individual thought, mind, and consciousness. If it helps to visualize, you can imagine moving closer to the consciousness of your heart and your third eye, forehead space. All other individuality, skin and nails, memory, stories, present experience, feelings, or thoughts are absorbed and moved past. All senses now are passing away as we now may experience unveiling of self, of mind, that may instead allow for visioning mind, visioning arcane knowledge meant only for us as secrets become revealed and we begin to see and feel beyond our senses of the third dimension. Through this visioning, everything now is passing away, save for our transcendence, our conscious and subconsciousness beyond what we can see and feel and taste. We welcome in Fanaa the annihilation of self, as if we were holding our breath all this time, and now we are finally releasing. Letting all barriers and all parts of self release. Everything is endings. Everything is releasing, relaxing into Ar-Rahman, the forgiveness. And after these ends, we are welcoming in the new beginning, an ultimate state of truths, revealing and being revealed to us from the great beyond, a great mirror of the universe looking back at us as we become illuminated by soul love and universe love, universal life force, Allah al-Karim. So let us now stay here in connection with the divine as we hold within this trance, this removal of self and this ability that we have always had to put ourselves back together with the divine. We take a few final moments now with this great mirror, receiving love, understanding, wisdom to all of those places within us that so rightly deserve and need it. Allowing the universe to see us and us to see the universe as reflections of each other, so that there is no self, there are no divisions. Now I will count down from 10 to 0. And when I reach 0, we will be returning back to this room and to this time, knowing that this knowledge is with us at all times. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. Just going to turn off the sound here. Okay. We'll turn off the recording.